7:35, coming around towards 7:36 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, a new local television production is on the way in the form of a comedy drama series, The Apartment, exploring the lives of three female roommates. It's set to air from September on TV6, and here to tell us more, we're joined by Pauline Mark, the executive producer, closer to me, and also we have with us Janine Charles-Farry, the marketing strategist and media analyst for the show. Very good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the program. Pauline Mark, let me ask you the question I asked you off air. Is this a Three's Company Trini version?
No, it isn't. It's a novel idea for local television. It's about three young roommates. They're more or less going through quarter-life crisis, and it's relatable, and we explore the lives of what goes on when you're in your mid-20s, some of the choices you make and some of the mistakes you make. And
Janine Charles-Farry, what makes this program different from any similar type of like a Friends divide by 2? Instead of 6 is 3 and it's 3 girls. What will make this production distinctively Trinidadian, if at all?
Well, the fact that it's set in Trinidad and Tobago and that we have our own cultural context in terms of how we deal with different challenges. You know, if you look at Friends, if they're facing a challenge like one of their roommates isn't behaving appropriately, they will deal with it in accordance to the American culture. But in Trinidad, our culture is definitely distinct, and where somebody might be able to get away with something in the States, not so much in Trinidad. And that's how we put it into context and see how they react and go along with the drama in that way.
We're looking at a bit of the trailer while we're having our discussion. And Pauline Mark, how long has this been in the works and the production?
Wow, okay, so to go back to the incipient stages, I would say back in 2009, I started to play with it mentally. Then in 2012, I started to actually script it. You know, there was an American film, TV series that I looked at called The LA Complex that dealt with people more or less living together in a confined space, and I thought, this is interesting to localize it, because I come from a large family. I'm a middle child. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and whenever you live with people, there's certain things that happen. So I started to conceptualize the idea of people living together in a confined space, but in a very Trini context, women. So you have all those different scenarios and possibilities coming out. So I can say it has been in development about 6 years, but when to really come down to it, for the last 3 years or so, I've been working in terms of scripting it.
And how challenging has it been, Janine Charles-Farry, to sell this idea to corporate Trinidad and Tobago and indeed media houses in Trinidad and Tobago?
Thank you so much for asking that question, Fazeer. Let me tell you, in Trinidad and Tobago, it is incredibly challenging to sell local content, as I'm sure most sales departments in any television station will agree. My experience has been a bit of a fortunate one. I came out of the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company. I did the television film festival, so that has been the experience that has led me to kind of understand how corporate Trinidad and Tobago thinks. We are incredibly risk averse, corporate TNT, when it comes to television. But what we've managed to do is to put together a package of persuasive arguments to kind of show people that there are more opportunities. It's not just about placing an ad. It's also about opportunities that come within the context and content of the show. So there's product placement. There's even weaving the brand into the script in a very subtle way, not too overbearing, so that, oh, well, this must be sponsored by so-and-so, you know. And with this project, it is a bit of an experiment also. I don't think that there is anyone else who has managed to bring these brands across in this particular way. Between Pauline, myself, the other partner, Verena Siblal Budu Singh, we've managed to kind of come up with a package that sponsors have been responding to favorably.
Yes. So like I was watching Best Marigold Hotel and they had this big GE sign on a pole.
Oh yes,
yes, you know,
that is very common.
That's all about the product placement.
Common. In movies, but for television, there's even more to play with, because it's longer than a movie. A movie you're trapped for 2 hours, but the television series you have over 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours of content that, you know, corporates brands can benefit from.
Sure, Pauline.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
The mere idea that the context is an apartment, there's so many possibilities when you think about it, because it's real life setting. For example, one of our sponsors is Massey Stores. I mean, you go to the grocery, you buy things, you put it in your fridge. When you think about that, it's realistic, so that it's not obvious like that big G, what you saw in that film. It's realistic. You go to the grocery on a weekly basis. So when you think about what we are offering in terms of content, our product, many other products can fit into that context.
And of course, there's some I'm sure some finishing work to be done ahead of the start of the series in September. We have just a couple minutes left, but I just want to ask you, Pauline Mark, in that sense, do you feel in that pursuit of commercial support, corporate support, that it might actually get in the way of the integrity of the program, that you might actually find yourself compromising your ideas and your vision because a potentially big financier say, I want so and so?
Never, because the kind of person I am and the sort of artist I am, I believe there's a social responsibility with your art. And we have not approached any potential investor that we as individuals would not support or would not endorse. I mean, we more or less are approaching brands and organizations that we believe fit into the context of the apartment and also send a message in terms of what we want to send with the show, because there is a social responsibility as an artist.
Yes, well, I suggest we'll have a few more opportunities to develop our discussion ahead of the start of the series, The Apartment. It begins right here on TV6 in September. It's coming towards the end of February, so the countdown is on, and it'll be very interesting to see how corporate Trinidad and Tobago and indeed the viewing public will respond to the debuting of that series and in the lead up to it. Thanks very much for joining us this morning, and we look forward to further discussions as we head up towards the countdown of September and the start of the series, The Apartment. We'll be back after this.